Hello, Algebra 2 students. We're going to talk about the discriminant today, and we are on page 203 in your book if you want to follow along. Okay, the discriminant is part of the quadratic formula. So let's look at the formula. X equals a negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the discriminant is what's underneath the radical here. So it's going to be b squared minus 4ac. And that is your discriminant. Okay, so you're probably asking, well, why is it so important and why do I have to learn this? So it helps us to determine what type of roots that we have. So yesterday we talked about we could have two rational roots. We could have one rational root. We could have two complex roots. Actually, we could have two irrational roots. And then we also have two complex roots. So we're going to look at a scenario with all four of these possibilities here. So there's a nice chart on page 203. I suggest you copy it down. I'm not going to go over every single thing on that chart. It's your job to copy it down, but I am going to go over all four of these examples for you. So please copy the chart down. It'll be real helpful for you. Like I said, I'll go over all four of these scenarios, and that should help you out and to determine what type of root you have. So. Okay, so we're going to look at a scenario of 7x squared. So number one, 7x squared minus 11x plus 5, and that's equal to 0. So we're going to look at this formula and determine what type of root we have. So remember, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So b squared in this situation is a negative 11. So whenever we have a negative number and it's squared, we have to add parentheses. So it's negative 11 in parentheses squared minus 4 times 7 times 5. And we're going to work this out. We get 121 minus 140, and we get a negative 19. So if we look at our chart on page 203, and it says b squared is less than 0. So b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So this is the scenario that we have happening, where our discriminant is a negative 19. So that means we're going to have two complex roots. So basically what you need to do here on these problems is to find the answer, and then go to the chart and compare what you have with the choices there for roots. So this one, you're going to have two complex roots because it's less than 0. Let's go ahead and look at another one. So number 2. We have x squared plus 22x plus 121 is equal to 0. Okay, b squared minus 4ac, so that's going to be 22 squared minus 4 times 1 times 121. Well, 22 squared comes out to be 484 minus, and this comes out to be 484, so it's 0. So we have b squared minus 4ac equaling 0. So if it's equal to 0 and you go and look at your chart, you're going to see that you're going to have one rational root. So you may be asking, well, Ms. Poos, what does the word rational mean? So let's take a look at what it means. Okay, so this is the definition for rational. Okay, so it's a number that can be written as a over b, where b cannot equal 0. And so basically, a rational number is a number that you can write as a ratio. So for instance, -1 is a rational number because you can write it as -1 over 1. 3 is a rational number. 3 over 2, -2/3. Those are all rational numbers because you can write them as ratios, write them as fractions. A decimal, 0.25, well, you can easily convert that into 1/4. So that's going to be a rational number. Now, irrational means you can't write it as a ratio. So irrational would be like the number pi, or the square root of 2, or 3 plus or minus the square root of 7, okay? Anything that has a square root that doesn't come out exactly. There's no way we can write this number as a fraction. So that's just a little review of what rational means. So. Okay, so let's go on to another scenario. So let's say we have, number 3, -5x squared plus 8x is equal to 1. Okay, so in this scenario, we're going to have to move this one over. So we get a -5x squared plus 8x minus 1 is equal to 0. And so now I'm going to just plug it in. So it's going to be 8 squared minus 4 times a times c. So 8 squared is 64. And then this turns out to be a -4 times a -5 times a -1, which is minus 20. So that comes out to be 44. Oh, I did something wrong.